1 in 5 U.S. adults experience mental illness each year. 50% of all lifetime mental illness begins by age 14 and 75% by age 24. Oh, and suicide? Well, it's the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 34. This episode of Energy in Motion, there is nothing to see. This is in honor of the millions of people suffering with mental illness who go unseen. We invite you after this episode to see things differently. Welcome back to Energy in Motion, everyone. I'm your host, Ra Kalan. We have a dope episode for you today over a very heavy topic, so I'm thankful you're tuning in. Before we get to the episode with the amazing group of people who I got to talk with, let me remind you of a couple of things. I am so geeked out and thankful that every time I check all the platforms that I upload Energy in Motion to, there are more of you tuning in. There are more of you actually subscribing. So thank you. Thank you for subscribing to the channels. Thank you for sharing it with the people in your life. And if you haven't had a chance to subscribe, no beef, but take this as a reminder and opportunity to. That way you have easier access to the weekly content that Energy in Motion uploads. And as another reminder, if you are not already following us on social media, please make it a point to reach out to us at 3InMotion on Instagram or on Facebook. You can also find us on LinkedIn as well. So make sure that if you have any questions, if you want to engage deeper on the topic of mental wealth, or if you are interested in the other episodes that are coming up, you want to make sure that you follow us so that you can be in the loop. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to today's amazing guests. Over the holiday break, I got the chance to sit down with creator Ramiz Heron, co-founder Karina, and leading therapist Tyler of the More Than Mental Project. Now, if you don't know what the More Than Mental Project is, it's a nonprofit organization focused on raising awareness and emphasizing the importance of mental health with an effort to provide the resources necessary to create long-term stability. Think about that. Think about how many people in your life you felt like they just need some support. They just need a safe, non-judgmental space to actually work out their issues. And that's what the More Than Mental Project is all about. Through different events, through different workshops, through different conferences, these beautiful young people are putting together a culture of mental wealth. And I am so excited to be a part of it. So I know you're going to enjoy this episode. Sit back, relax, learn something, and together, let's remove the stigma on mental illness. If we were to go around and define mental health, what would your answers be? Especially as the professionals you are.
I believe for me, mental health, it's something that so many people neglect and something everybody deals with. I think we all deal with mental health.
Yes.
But it has been translated into such a stigma that nobody wants it.
What stigmas? Oh, you mean the ones where you're weak or broken or out of control or overwhelmed if you at all need support with your mental health. Yeah, let's go ahead and get something clear at the top of this episode, guys. There is no room for the stigma bullshit anymore. We are literally having people in our communities deteriorate in front of us because we refuse to speak and acknowledge what's going on.
So it's just the same thing of like, we constantly are like, oh my gosh, like, you know, this person committed suicide. That's so sad. Like, I wish you would reach out to me. But when that same person came and told you, hey, I'm not feeling okay. I feel depressed. Well, why?
Or are you just sad?
Right. You're just sad. You're okay. And it's like, and then they have to leave with that mindset of, maybe I'm just sad.
Maybe it's just me.
Yeah. It's just me.
That
Nobody
isolation.
else is feeling that way. So then it kind of reverts into this thing of like, okay, then it's just me. Nobody else is dealing with this. Well, like, if I'm the only one dealing with it, I'm gonna
deal with it.
And they go deal with it. And then everybody's like, oh my gosh, like, I wish they would have just talked to me. And it's like, well, they did numerous times. And, you know, I relate to that personally because when I did, And I ended up in a hospital bed. That's the first thing everybody said. And I didn't say anything. I literally pulled up a public post that I had posted on Facebook, stating, this is me, a friend, a family member, your colleague, whatever I am to you, asking for help. And people reached out for like a day. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, oh, okay, well, you seem fine. You seem okay.
Yeah.
Push through, little nugget. Push through. And you're like, So that's for me, like, mental health is just something we all deal with, but nobody's talking about. And that's the problem.
It's something that's going on inside of each of us, whether our mental health is wealthy or our mental health is poor. But since we don't talk about it and we don't normalize our mental health experiences, can we really say that we're effectively taking care of our mental health? How about for you, Tyler? What you think?
Yeah, so the way I can define mental health is the maintenance of the mind. And I say it that way because a lot of people confuse mental health with mental illness. And how I see it is mental health or mental illness is what happens when your mental wealth and mental health is not maintained. Mm-hmm. And that maintenance starts well before signs of illness. That maintenance starts when you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling stressed out, you're feeling overly tired when you leave a group of people or you leave family and friends. It starts well before you're to a point of crying in the corner or feeling the need to isolate. That is where the mental illness kind of kicks in.
So the reason Tyler is emphasizing the term long before is because we have to be proactive when it comes to mental health so that it does not evolve into mental illness. No, they are not one and the same thing. However, because we often prolong and put off actually tending to our mental hygiene, we push it to the point where we often break.
But the mental wealth is it can be a very simple lifestyle habit, right? Like, so what are my check-ins or what are my limitations, because I don't like the word weaknesses. What are my limitations? Where are the things that are making me feel more vulnerable than I perceive them as necessary? And then how do I go about working on those on a daily basis or a weekly basis or a monthly basis? What is my, and I hate this phrase, but self-care? Because for me, self-care is so much bigger than a bubble bath. It's more of like, let me do my homework every night as opposed to waiting till Friday night because I decided to shop all week, you know? So mental health, just to kind of sum all that up, is the maintenance, right? The active care of the mind. Same with like physical health is a maintenance thing. It's not, let me take care of my physical health once I've become diabetic because now you have an illness.
Or let me only take care of my physical health once and then expect that to last.
Forever for the rest of this little body's life. It's the same with mental health. And I think that's the part that people miss is that it's not, you're suicidal, you're this, you're that, you're the third. That's the illness. Like the maintenance and the mental health comes well before the necessary steps have to be taken for the illness.
Yeah, and I love that you point out about self-care because I think self-care is such a trendy term now. I need to practice self-care. I need to practice self-care. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
So if you do that,
then what?
If you practice self-care that one time, then what? Yeah.
And it's funny that you say that is because that's what I've said to them. And that's what she brought up in one of our first meetings. She's like, it's a renewal of the mind. And it's something that we preach and come 2020, it's what we're going to be living through. Like every so often, hey, mental check-in. How are we doing? How are we feeling? And not just for us, but for anybody involved with us who has come across us, we will be doing renewals.
Right, for the community that we're building.
Because like people have this stigma that once you are good, like you're gonna stay good.
Right.
Things keep happening. Life keeps
Catalysts
going.
keep coming up.
And it's gonna continue to affect your mental health. Like sometimes it's harder to deal with certain things. Sometimes it's like, okay, like I dealt with that, like cool. And then sometimes it feels like everything just like hit the fan and like your head's no longer above water. You're drowning and you're like, what do I do? And it could be like the straw that broke the camel's back. Right. And everybody else is like, that's what broke you? I was like, well, yeah, because
if you
I
look
was
at all
carrying
of
this that I decided not to check. So yeah, now I'm mad about this one little straw because it's the one that broke.
And y'all playing with it.
And y'all playing
you're
with me.
With the straw.
Because you threw it on my back like you knew I could handle it. And I couldn't.
And I could.
But you didn't see all this.
And I didn't feel like I could tell anyone I couldn't handle it either. Because when I did, you acted like, oh, you're okay. Right. And then it made me feel like I'm weak because I think that I have a problem. You really knew that you did. And because the straws that break our backs often come in big and small packages, it is now more important than ever to create sacred, safe spaces where people can talk about the things that are uncomfortable and vulnerable and scary and awkward. Because if we don't create a space where people can do that, we will continue to suffer alone.
Karina, how about you? What's your experience, or what do you feel towards mental health as a definition?
I think basically it's just taking care of your mind.
Yeah.
I do feel the same way Tyler feels about self-care that everyone mentions. Like, it's not, it's more than just, a face mask tonight or a cute little bubble bath and
or getting my nails done.
Like, it's so much more than that. It's just focusing about, taking the time to yourself and realizing, like, okay, whether it's like meditating or praying or whatever keeps you sane and just quiet and in a peace of mind where you can actually think of everything that's going through your mind.
Yes, to ground yourself.
Right. And I think, not a lot of us do that. I know personally myself, I don't take enough time to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly, in a headspace where I'm just like so overwhelmed, and I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to, focus more on, okay, and me and Remy always joke about this. We're like, mental capacity, gone.
Checked out.
Gone, checked out.
Yes.
And I've been in that, headspace recently a lot. And I'm just like, okay, how can I free myself from that?
Yes.
So it's definitely something that we talk about, and I'm working on it as I go.
So anybody who works with me at my 9 to 5 knows that when I get to the point that I say,
I'm shutting down emotionally,
that it's time for me to pack up my shit and go home for the day. So when Karina is speaking about that mental capacity gone, so many of us run at that level at all times, never replenishing ourselves. So just like Karina, we need to keep talking about it and keep working on it.
And see, I love that it's not just, even with you all as professionals, this is what you do. This is what you feel led and you're purpose driven to do. You still are aware, I'm not just going to talk about it. It is an active thing to apply into your life. And you'll forget. And that's why you need community to remind you, hey, so you seem like you're taking on a lot. What happened to those days that you were going to check in with yourself? Have you been doing that? And so I love that y'all are creating that space for not just each other and your friendship, but also for the rest of the community, because we all need it. Deeply need it.
Yeah, I would dare to say we have to, especially in this field and especially in this community, because people are coming to us with their mental, their mental capacity being completely full already. So in order for us to safely, hold them, we have to check in with ourselves. Yeah. We have to be real about what we can and we cannot accept. There's this threshold that a lot of us get to. And I've seen it with a lot of clients. They'll be, they'll come to me with something and then they're like, okay, well, I don't really have anything. And I won't hear from them for like 2, 3 weeks, 3, 4, 5 weeks. And then when I hear from them again, it's like, well, I'm at a place where I can't take it anymore. And it's like, well, you stop checking in just because you felt that you were okay at that moment, you let go of that care routine or that regimen that we set in place at that moment. And it should have continued. Yeah. And I think that kind of just goes back to us. Like, we can't just kind of, okay, well, I feel okay right now, and then drop that regimen. I think it's so important for us to continue that. And yes, we forget at times, but we help each other remain accountable to what we need, okay, your threshold, where are you today? Yeah. Where are you today? And even when we come to each other with certain things, it's like, okay, are you in a space to receive this? And I feel that that's super important because everyone's not always in a space to receive your weight, and weight sounds so harsh, but that's what it is. It's a weight. Like what's on your shoulders, you are now giving them to Ramis. You're now giving them to Karina, you're handing that off. And you don't know if they're in a space to hold that. But yeah, I think it's just really important for us to check in with ourselves, especially being people who are going to take on the weight of others.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We really want to make it a point to begin checking in with ourselves daily. Make that a daily practice. Because even if you're not in a position where you are handling the emotional and mental well-being of other people, you are still interacting with the emotional and mental nature of people. And because of that, being compassionate and being self-aware are areas that we do have a responsibility to take control over so that we can lead with our best selves and meet people where they are.
I know when I go to Tyler, I have to be in the place of okay, is Tyler not only can she receive this, but am I ready to receive what she's going to say?
Exactly. Because it's a give and take.
Exactly.
It's an exchange.
Because people come to us, or mostly come to her a lot, I know, and go, well, I want this answer. And she's like, well, that's not the answer you need, baby. And then they're like, oh, well,
I don't want that answer.
Yeah, I don't like you.
I don't want to have to unpack this.
And then they come back 2 weeks later. Well, okay, well.
That answer sounded really good.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I always have to make sure, like, okay, if I go to Tyler, be ready, because she gonna set it
I'm
straight.
usually good at saying, okay, so are you asking Tyler the therapist, or are you just talking to Tyler your friend? Because Tyler your friend is a little different. I'm more like, whatever, like, okay.
Yeah, make
like,
your
I hear you.
Chop it up.
Yeah, whatever, yeah, we talking. But then Tyler the therapist is like, okay, so let's sit down. Let's unpack this a little bit more, because there's something else under there that I feel that you're not saying, you know?
So you want to keep that in mind when you are reaching out for relationship advice to your psychologist friends, psychiatrist friends, life coaching friends, counseling friends, therapist friends, personal development friends. Yeah, you need to let them know whether you're asking for their professional help or their platonic friendship-based help, because if not, you might get your feelings hurt.
So kind of brief us all on how did the More Than Mental Project come to exist, and exactly what are y'all doing right now?
I guess I can take the reins on this one.
Come on. Come on, Daddy. Do it.
Okay, so basically, I will never forget this day. It was her son's birthday, my co-founder's son's birthday.
Oh.
June 11th, this year, actually, 2019. And I was sitting at her job, and I had been going through so much and unpacking things from not only this year, but not only 2018, but 2017 that I had yet to deal with. And in that moment, I had just lost one of the best jobs I ever had. Friends that I had been talking to for years, we just kind of like cut ties. And I had just met this new amazing girl, and I was like, all right, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was just there, and I knew I wanted to create, and I knew mental health was so important to me, and I just didn't know how to get the message across. So I wrote a book, The Fine Line Between, and I had this publisher in LA ready to take off with it.
Hey!
Well, that's exactly what they did. They took off with it and took my entire manuscript and just took off.
Oh, damn.
Wow.
My God.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
I'm a little pissed.
And so my entire manuscript was gone. I had people paying for this book and coming at me like, where's my book, or where's my money? I was crying. I had no job. I had nothing. So to these people, it looks like I scammed them out of a book. I got scammed out of thousands of dollars trying to produce this book. I didn't even make back what I had spent. And then I had to turn around and figure out ways to pay all these people back. And it was so much. It was very heavy on me. But I remember constantly looking at the graphic design of the book, and I loved the brain that one of my friends had created. And I was like, that is such a gorgeous brain. And it started with simple merchandise. Actually, I created merchandise for the book and stuff. I was like, okay, maybe I can do this and, try to make this work and this work. And I was just trying to figure out things. And I was just I kept looking at that brain. That brain just kept circling back to me. And I was like, I want to start a project. And I came to her, and she's like, yeah, okay. Because at this point, she's still kind of I know you, but I don't really know you. So she's okay, good luck with that.
Yeah. Tell me your plan.
Literally. So the next month, I spent slaving over this, just busting it out. I'm making connections. I'm calling people. And come July 18th, I launched.
Come on.
And it was my birthday. And I literally sat in bed all day that day and cried. I was like, I'm going to do something that makes me feel great.
Yeah.
Because all the past years, my birthday has been about impressing people. Oh, let me go to this spot. Let me make sure I'm vacationing here for my birthday. So I got to spend $1,000 to impress you on my birthday, girl? I don't want that. I wanted to sit in bed. And I remember her being like, are you sure? I'm like, no, I want to sit in bed.
This is what I want.
And I created that, and I launched it, and I came to her, and I was like, hey, I'm kind of putting together a team, don't really know. And she was kind of yeah. I could tell she was so hesitant. I'm going to do it. But at the moment it seems like a lot. I'm jumping shit. She was just kind of waiting for something to go wrong. She could be like, deuces. And I felt that though. But I felt like God was just kind of opening doors, because I've started things before and they've all felt like they just come to an abrupt stop. And I was kind of why? For everything I did. But this doors are just opening.
Yeah.
Like, I had just met the girl who introduced me to Tyler, like, the week prior, before she was like, reach out to this person.
Yeah.
And put me in contact with Tyler. Tyler has been my left hand, because this one's my right ever since.
Yeah.
And, like, she has never, like, failed me. And then from then, like, the girl who reached out, she joined the team. And we had, like, several other people join the team. We've had some other people join and drop. But it's been such a good vibe with it all. It's never been any problems. It's like, hey, I can't do this right now, but I wish you guys the best. Let me know if you need anything from
support,
my end.
nonetheless.
And it's just like love.
It's just like love. And that is what it's all about. Pursuing something even when things get dark, even when things seem unfair, even when you don't know where to turn, continuing to follow your path, even when it's just one footstep ahead at a time.
So what we do in the More Than Mental is give outlets that look more like us. So a lot of people's outlets are more creative than they are logical, or analytical. So we do things like we have skate nights, we have yoga, yoga meetups, we have different little things that we do that are very much therapeutic that our communities otherwise wouldn't go to, because one, those are white events, and two, you put the word therapy on something, and all of a sudden they think they're being analyzed on a couch. Mm-hmm. And that's not what we want to present this as. We want it to present it as more than just a mental therapy session.
Yeah.
It's more than just you breaking down and crying. And if that's what you so desire, then for sure go for it. But we want you to see that these outlets can be therapeutic. Your activities that you do mindlessly can be more intentional and helpful to where you're going. They can be your self-care.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I wonder also, because of all the stigmas that come with mental health, the difference between mental health, mental illness, and mental wellness. Do y'all have a way of defining that for yourselves, your clients?
I do. So, like I kind of mentioned earlier, mental illness is a little bit more of what I see on a daily basis. So I work in a mental health hospital with psychiatric people, suicidal, homicidal, and aggressives, and psychosis. Those people are for sure mentally ill. They are no longer in the capacity to care for themselves, or they've had moments where they lost the capacity to care for themselves because their mental was compromised by these illnesses. Then the mental health aspect is just the maintenance of it. Mental wealth I see as an optimized health, right? So like you are self-actualized, you have done your best to figure out what your balance looks like. And I say your balance because I don't believe that there's anything that even slightly matches a balance for us all. So there's no one way to balance life for everybody.
It's going to look different.
It looks different for each person. However, when you are now, or when you have achieved mental wealth, you've achieved that self-actualized balance for you. And it's a constant thing. It's not something that you get to and you stop. It's something that you're always going to do and work on, because each phase of your life, there's something different that's going to be presented to you.
So after hearing Tyler's very detailed description of the differences between mental illness, mental health, and mental wealth, where do you feel like you line up? This is a personal question. No one needs you to answer it out loud, but it's something to be mindful about. Because if you think you might be suffering from any mental illness, there is no need to suffer alone. Please reach out to the More Than Mental Project team. They have hearts to serve, and they have resources to help you. It is truly a safe space. If you feel like you line up more in the mental health arena, that's great. But how are you maintaining that health? It is something that needs your attention on a regular basis, not just a once-a-year checkup. And then, for those of us who are in the mental wealth department, I consider myself here, but that is only because I actively, on a daily basis, check in with myself. And so if you are also in the mental wealth department, how do you find your balance? Let me and the More Than Mental Project know at 3InMotion on Instagram or at More Than Mental Project on Instagram. We really want to know.
You can't really focus on one without dealing with the other. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to, and like we were talking about it earlier, we can't just do it like one day and I'm going to do this one day and then I hope I'm going to be great for, so long. And no, you kind of have to work on it and remind yourself that, okay, it's okay to just take the time to deal with it. And
it's okay to not be okay.
Right.
Oh, we have to remind each other of that. Because I think we are so used to, especially people of color or minorities in general, any oppressed group, you are you feel like you're a target. You feel like you're waiting for someone to attack you. So if you show weakness in any sense, even if it's you're at your mental limitation, you are afraid to fall prey or to be prey to someone. Yeah. And we just have to remind each other of, I'm going to keep you safe. You just have to acknowledge where you actually are.
Right. For me, like, it was so hard because I was not only gay, I was black, and America doesn't like me. Period.
Black gay men.
It's sad to say, but I walk out in the street and they see me at first from a distance. Depending on what I'm wearing, they're like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. He's like black, so we gotta watch him. He may steal something. And then you see me walk, and it's a little like prissier, and like I got a more limpy wrists, and I got a little bounce to it. And they're like, oh, he's one of those. Yeah. And I'm like, so?
What that mean?
Like,
God forbid you have a mental illness.
And God forbid. So that was one thing that I'm like, let's take. I can take one of these out of the equation. They're gonna see that I'm black and gay. So this one they can't see. Let me
hide it.
As much as I can, because I slap that on, and it's just like, oh, you're a wreck waiting to happen.
Yeah, you're a hazard. You're a hazard.
You're a liability.
You're a liability.
Okay, so let's actually talk about being a person of color who is also a part of the LGBTQ plus community. So I did some research, and I looked at NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Illnesses website, and they had some very interesting's not the word, terrifying, that's the right word I'm looking for. They had some terrifying statistics. So according to NAMI, LGBTQ adults are more than twice as likely as heterosexual adults to experience a mental health condition. LGBTQ people are at a higher risk than the general population for suicidal thoughts and suicide attempts. High school students who identify as lesbian, gay, or bisexual are almost 5 times as likely to attempt suicide compared to their heterosexual peers. 48% of all transgender adults report that they have considered suicide in the past 12 months. So, can we actually continue to not look at this? How are we not looking at this?
Like, for me, I've always been defensive. So mental health, I was just like, let's keep that one as far back as possible.
But that's a real thing, though, because that's what everybody's doing.
Right.
Even honestly, white people, too. It's not just a people of color thing in that sense of we as human beings hate to be vulnerable. Right. It just seems like you're going to get attacked. Yeah. And it's interesting to still have so many of the same, like, instincts that we had back in caveman days. But we're living in 2020, it'll be. 2020. And we're still over here anxious about being attacked. And now people of color, we have good reason to be anxious about being attacked. But white people are also still afraid of, if I show this vulnerability, will you take advantage of me? Right. If I show you that I do not have it all together, will you see a gap and then try to fill that gap in a positive way? Or will you try to humiliate me? Mm-hmm. And nobody wants to be embarrassed. And so when you tell someone that you are struggling with your mental well-being, you're essentially saying, I'm not in control of myself. Yes. But the gag is, ain't now one of us in control of nothing other than how we handle the situations presented to us.
And it's funny, I'm sorry.
No, get in there.
It's funny that you mentioned that because, you know, with me and Ramiz, we unintentionally see each other every day because we conveniently live next to each other. Yes. So we've been dealing with, you know, some stuff outside of everything, and it just ties everything together, like what you just mentioned right now. We were talking about a friend the other day, and he literally texted me out of the random. He said, I am the one thing I can control. And you saying that, it just kind of like literally confirmed a lot of things that we have going on.
Neatly wrapped it with a bow.
Hey now, maybe with some well-maintained mental health come a couple of telepathic abilities.
I've learned with situations like that, and it took a lot of growth, right? So, like, I went through a really, 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 really toxic relationship that I was in for a long time. And throughout that relationship, I felt very much a lot of, what did I do? How did I do this? How did I do that? What did I do to deserve this? You know, like, so me trying to take control of it. But at some point in the process of forgiveness, I learned that people deal with you from where they are.
Yes. Come on.
So I forgive you for treating me how you treated me, because that was the only way you knew how to treat me at the time. That was the only place that you could come from at the time. And a lot of times people deal with you out of their own insecurities,
Yes.
their own problems, their
From their
own
own
struggles,
lens.
from their own lens, right? From their own bubble. So whereas you could be showing someone love, if they've never felt love in that manner before, you're attacking them. You know, if they've never felt healing in that manner before, you're scarring them. So I think a lot of times we forget that, yes, we control ourselves, we control our behaviors, but there are so many other variables that go into that equation.
Absolutely.
That simple concept of like, I control me helps us in our mental space. But then when we start dealing with other people, we have to understand, okay, she's acting out of where she is right now.
Right.
He's acting out of where he is right now.
Right.
So yes, there are moments where people will say things about us, do things to us, and behave a certain way with us. But you kind of have to be aware, like, you know what? I can't even take that personal. You're acting out of where you are right now. You know, like, I can't even take that shade as shade because you're acting out of where you are right now.
And that will blow the whole... That's a mic drop.
Block, block, block. Y'all hear them shots fired?
I'd be outraged if you said that to me. Just because
People
there's
have
no
been.
rebuttal.
There's no
People have
rebuttal.
been. I can't be mad at you for behaving from where you are.
Ooh.
And then everybody's
so
like, hey, I said
You just gonna shit on me like that? You just gonna be like...
So you don't care.
Yeah.
So you don't care. No,
I
do
do.
care.
I care very deeply.
Which is why
More than you could understand.
Very deeply, which is how I know that you're behaving from where you are.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
But being able to identify when someone who you value is acting out of where they are right then is so invaluable because it helps us not to take the things that they say and do personally.
And I don't even necessarily talk about it as in I'm in control over myself. I'm responsible for myself.
Yes.
And so there are going to be things that even I experience that I'm like, I don't feel in control over what I feel right now. But how and what I do with it, I am responsible for.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when you meet people and you're like, you should take better care of you. For those of us who are caretakers in the community, we want to care for them in a way they won't care for themselves. But we can't do it for them. You can't love someone enough to get them to do it. You can show them and live by example so they can see what it's like to love themselves, but you can't make them do it or love them enough for them. And that's the hardest thing.
These family sessions, let me tell you, people, and it's not, I think it's just the natural fault of a human to think that you can love somebody out of something. But unfortunately, love is not as strong as mental illness, addiction, selfishness. That doesn't change a person. I've had to teach so many people to understand that you cannot love a person out of where they are. They are where they are. They are who they are. And whenever they're ready to make that change, they will make that change. But don't take it personally, because what we do when we say, like, why don't you love me enough? You make it about yourself.
Yeah.
It's not about
Egocentric.
You make it very much egocentric. So if I'm telling Rameez, him and his addiction, well, I love you. You should love me enough to not do this. That's taking away the understanding that that mental illness, that disease, that disorder is something that you're dealing with. I can't do that to you.
Right.
I can't
That's
tell
not
you
fair.
to love me enough to not do it for me.
Right.
That person has to be willing and ready to grow for them.
Because that's the only way it'll stick.
Right.
Because if you say love me enough and then I croak, so does that give you
Well, now
permission to
you're
go back to
gone,
it?
so-
Yeah. Right back to it.
Right.
Yeah, and people really do look for any excuse to go back to what they feel comfortable with.
Yes.
And now you've created this space of resentment because you've made it about you. And it never was about you.
Right.
And it's hard. I think as human beings, we are community-based, but we're also so egocentric that when something matters to us and we become emotionally attached to it, especially if it's a relationship or a person, if they start to do anything that threatens what we've started to value and enjoy, you messing with my relationship now.
Absolutely.
So while you messing with your mental health, you messing with my
Yeah.
significant other. And it's like, but it's about them though.
And that's the thing that makes me so mad is I was telling Karina, I was like, we live in such a time of like, where we have so many terms and conditions on unconditional love.
Woo.
I love you
That's a
unconditionally
message.
as long as this list is met.
As
Yes.
long as these are the conditions
Yes.
under the unconditional clause.
And I'm
Yes.
like, wait, what? What you mean? Like, I don't
The
understand.
whole contradiction.
Oh, and we have officially stumbled upon one of my favorite conversations. The conversation about unconditional love. Let's jump into it.
So many people like that word, but they don't know what that means.
Right.
They also don't know if they've experienced it or not.
Right.
People often say the closest thing to like God's love or unconditional love is a mother's love, but some of us got some messed up moms.
Woo.
So if you think that the way that potentially you're very human mother, your very honestly flawed mother loved you, was unconditional, I'm sorry. Nah.
She loved you how she knew
She
how.
loved you how she knew how the best she could. And so when you go and you tell someone, oh, I love you unconditionally, if you've never seen what being loved without conditions is like, if you've never felt that, then you are offering something that you can't give.
Right.
And they don't even know. And that hurts me for them because they're thinking, I'm over here offering this good unconditional love. You don't want this good love? No.
No.
I would dare to say unconditional love is a love without expectations.
Yep.
And an openness and a readiness to grow with a person or help them through their process. Whatever that may look like.
Yes.
And if that means you're separating yourself from them and allowing them to go in the direction that they need to go in order for them to heal, then so be it.
Yes. Say it. Say it, girl.
I think unconditional love is fluidity. Especially what you're speaking to. People feel like unconditional love means we have to stay together. Unconditional love, real love means it don't matter where we are or if we are together in the way that we thought we were supposed to be. I value your experience.
Yes.
I value what you're gaining from your experience. And all of the things that might come without me there, I'm not going to be intimidated by. I'm not going to make a personal thing. I'm going to release and trust you are capable of your own adventures.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we often think parting ways is the worst thing ever. And I'm not saying it's comfortable
At all.
or
Not at
easy,
all.
but sometimes it would be the path of least resistance.
Now, I want y'all to understand, I do not take breakups lightly, whether it be romantic relationships, friendships, relationships with family members. I don't take leaving people lightly. But what I also don't take lightly is debilitating my mental well-being just to hold on to someone else who is also in pursuit of their mental well-being. Just because we're not still aligned does not mean we cannot still share love. It might mean we can't share space, but it doesn't mean we can't share love. And when we start to finally take the conditions off of love, we open up ourselves, our relationships, to the opportunity to grow. And if it is meant to be, as the old adage says, it will come back. And if it doesn't come back, you experienced it, didn't you? Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Back to the rest of the show.
What would y'all say your lasting advice would be? This message to people, this more than mental project that's coming out. What is your advice to people as they come out and meet you? And also use this as an opportunity to pub what's coming up. What's coming up that they can come out and see your beautiful faces and get that love and support.
I think the message that I recently figured out is we are not here to fix you. We are here to help you. And I think the problem is a lot of people come to people like Tyler, our residential therapist, like, well, how can you fix me? Baby, I can't. She can't. I can't. None of us can. But we can help you, and I can give you the tools. And if I can't, I'm going to lead you to somebody who can. So you come to me, I may not have those answers. But I know it's a great therapist and a great friend of mine who does. And if she don't, I trust her enough to be like, okay, well, I know somebody who I can plug you with. And we're going to constantly be growing and building people. It is not just us. The More Than Mental Project is anybody who wants to be a part of it. If you want to walk around saying you are a part of our team, you are a part of our team. Come join us.
Yes.
Because we love you and we want that help and we want you to help somebody and do what you need to do. You're all a part of it. We are all a part of it.
I'm telling y'all, if you are looking for support, if you are looking for community, if you are looking for an opportunity to give support and to offer community, hit these people up.
We are having another skate night monthly next year. We're going to be monthly pumping out skate nights. Same for yoga. We're going to be partnering with the Healing Project and we're going to be doing yoga with them. We're having an adult field day. How long has it been since we all had a field day? Like, we just finna go out, have a great time, and just just go out there, raise some money for, the project, and people can compete, people can come watch. We come out and have a good time. Yeah. And then our mental wealth conference.
Come on.
Where we will be spending 2 whole days having people, performances, food, and love, fellowship, and connections. And we are going to be helping. We are going to be providing resources, tools, equipment that can last you.
This sounds like something you should be writing down. Are you writing this down?
We'll give you the tools, but you have to build a house.
Exactly.
We can't do that for you.
We have all the tools. We're going to have them all laid out for you there. whatever you can't find, we're going to have suggestions to where you
Right.
can find.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to go build the house.
Right. At the end of the day, we're just facilitators,
We are
right? So
facilitators.
like you were saying, people love to come to us and say, fix me. And my first question is, what makes you think you're broken? There's a lot of maintenance necessary, but broken, not so much. However, we're just facilitators. I want to walk with you through this journey, but I am not creating this path for you. I'm helping you see where you need to see. I'm helping you be who you need to be, but I'm not doing that for you. I can't do the work for you. If I'm doing the work, then you're not getting the help that you need.
Yeah.
I've already worked on me. I'm constantly working on me. It's your turn to work on you.
I got to teach you to fish. I can't just hand you one.
Period. So we're just trying, exactly. So we really just want to cultivate a safe space for people to learn and pick up the tools to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just want to thank y'all for coming out and having this experience with me. I think that what we will be doing this year is going to bless so many people.
And we will bless so many people. Hell, they've already blessed me just by coming to my home and having this amazing conversation. And because I enjoyed the conversation so much, I invited Miss Tyler to help me with the Take a Beat moment. So we'll be doing a little tag team here.
Yeah, so I just have a few words. First one is, I have nothing to prove, no one to impress, and everything to share. I am whole and I'm complete.
Yes.
And when I feel incomplete, because there will be times when I do, I will remember I have everything I need to gain everything I want.
There is no growth in comfortability. There are no dreams that come without a challenge. Therefore, I am welcoming the discomfort and I embrace the challenge. I will keep going.
Some of my greatest understanding of all that I am made of came from the experiences of challenges. It came from seeing that when I was met with an obstacle, I did not break, I did not crumble, but that I could continue to move forward. By being willing to dance with my discomfort, I opened portals within myself to parts of me I never even knew I could explore. But it came down to being uncomfortable, and it came down to not being afraid of the challenges. So here I am, an evolved version of myself, still ever-changing. Dope episode. Thank you, More Than Mental Project, for coming on and sharing your wealth of knowledge about mental wealth. So everybody listening, please make sure you go check out morethanmentalproject.com. Follow them on Instagram at More Than Mental Project. Thank you, Ramiz. Thank you, Karina. Thank you, Tyler. Thank y'all for your presence and your energy and for the work you're doing in our community. We all need to practice better mental health so that we can evolve into having that amazing mental wealth we're all worthy of. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing to the channel that you're listening to this on. Thank you for sharing this with at least 2 to 3 other people who you think need to check in on their mental health as well, because we all need to do it. And just know, you are so appreciated for your support, for your consciousness, for your insight, and for your experiences. So as always, Energy in Motion family, you get to feel whatever you may feel, and you will always deserve to heal. Peace.